Attention, patriots. Broadcasting from the Free Zones, Radio Free Redoubt begins in 5, 4, 3.
This is North Idaho, a scenic part of the United States nestled against the Canadian border in the Pacific Northwest. The city of Coeur d'Alene sits by the edge of a beautiful lake and is surrounded by tree-clad hills. It is also one of the least diverse places in the country, with 90% of the population being white. More recently, it has become the place where a lot of unhappy Trump voters, conservative Christians, and supporters of the Second Amendment have come to live in what is known as the American Redoubt. The Redoubt is a movement of people from across the United States who want to live together under shared ideals of small government, self-sufficiency, and Christian principles. I've come here to find out if it also encourages domestic terrorism, religious extremism, and the formation of a white ethno-state.
We were very unhappy with the government in California, the direction it was going. It was becoming more and more of a nanny state. At the time, the Republicans and Democrats in Sacramento, the capital, were fairly balanced. That began to change, and eventually it got to the point the Republicans were sort of the party of no. You know, the Democrats would propose something. They had enough Republicans to stop it. And then that went away, and the Republicans show up. They get paid for doing nothing because they can't get anything done. That was pretty much the death knell as far as we were concerned about freedom in California. So we came up here in Labor Day of 10 and looked around. We knew kind of what to expect politically. We said, this is what we need to be. So 3 weeks later, we came back, looked at a few houses, and bought this one. What's interesting is that a number of years ago, Idaho was a blue state, and Kootenai County was a blue county. And then people started getting in here and saying, you know, this is not the way to do it. And there were enough people who came here, got registered to vote, and said, we want to see changes.
So tell me about what happened when the election results were announced.
Oh, well, uproar would be putting it mildly. The people that we hang with are politically astute. We pay attention to what's going on, and the numbers did not add up. And they would already talk about what was going on, and most people said, no, something's gone on here. So there was a tremendous amount of anger. There still is. People say, well, let it go. No, this is my country. What has happened? Joe Biden and his minions are leading this country down the road to perdition. Right? That's how we look at it. He is there illegally, and I am not ashamed to say that. I will tell that to anybody. What he has done is wrong.
And is there a sense in which some of the recent arrivals post-election see North Idaho as a place to kind of congregate with other conservatives?
There have been plenty of conversations about the potential balkanization of Idaho, and we'll use the Great American Redoubt as an example. The Great American Redoubt is Idaho, eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, Montana, and Wyoming. We don't want big government, we want nanny government, we want freedom. And one of the things important is people need to understand that those of us who espouse the belief in the Great American Redoubt, it's not based on religion. It is based on political thinking, because that's really what's going on here. So we don't care what religion you are, so long as you come in with the thinking that you agree with your compatriots here. And I use compatriot in that very sense of patriotic friends. So that's really what we're talking about, is a community, a very large community, but that's what we want to do.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome and thank you for tuning in here at the Voice of the American Redoubt.
Radio Free Redoubt is a program that broadcasts across North Idaho and neighbouring Washington State. It is hosted by Jack Robertson and his wife Renee Holiday. It features a mix of readings from the Bible and extreme right-wing takes on political news.
They are not upholding any of our constitutional laws whatsoever because they're communists and they're in a takeover mode. They're sitting in the highest seat in the land, illegitimately, but they're still sitting in that seat until we rectify it.
Yeah, we need a revival, I'll tell you that.
One of the people who advertises on the show is Chris Walsh, an estate agent who sells properties to people who want to live off the grid and be prepared for a societal breakdown.
There is an exodus happening in America today, from cities full of crime and corruption to the rural areas of clean and sustainable living. Like-minded patriots are coming to North Idaho in search of a simpler, self-reliant lifestyle. I'm Chris Walsh, broker and owner of Revolutionary Realty, based in the heart of America's Great Redoubt, North Idaho.
Some of the properties he sells are so remote, he has to fly there in his own plane.
Now these people were pretty clever. They wanted to have more dwellings. So what they did, you see that red building out there? There's that one, and there's another one right over there. And those are skid-mounted houses. Those came from North Dakota and South Dakota, from the oil fields. The vast majority of preppers, to me, are really analogous to a 1968 hippie. And the reason for it is because those folks were looking for freedom, they wanted clean water, and they wanted non-interference. They didn't want to be told what to do. It was an expression of freedom. And that's why you see so many of these people come up here, because they want those freedoms, and a lot of them have just been taken away, where they're at. The bottom line is that, these people come and they like stuff like this because it's so usable. They want to take stuff like this and turn it into pasture. They want to turn it into garden, what have you. It's already done. The stumps are already removed. There's no trees out here. So this has been worked at some point by someone, toward the idea that they wanted to grow garden, grow food, have animals on it. But you can see that the ground itself just has no rock in it. It has no stumps.
And how important is it to not have the house on the road for people?
It really depends more on area than anything else. So, for example, if you're in a very heavily populated area, say Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, what have you, where there's 100,000 people, being up on the road is a much bigger detriment. So if you're up here, Highway 2 is there, and yeah, there's people up here, but there's not 100,000. The vast majority of people that I see, that I speak to, that are coming here out of danger. They're fleeing from places where they're afraid. So, for example, Seattle has real problems downtown. It's just not safe downtown now. The homeless live on the streets and claim them as their own property. So if you walk down the street, they'll tell you to get the F off their property, and they got no problem with it. So people are in large part right now being driven by their fear. More often than not, either the woman or the man has just looked up and just said, listen, we need to live somewhere where it's safer. Just that simple. And they know all these people that have moved to North Idaho. And they come up here, and once they see it, and they're moving out of the rat race of I-5 in Los Angeles, they fall madly in love with it. So that's what they're really looking for. But in the end, it's really security.
And is the idea of defensibility something that people ask you about when they're looking at properties?
Yes. Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, and it's not, there really is no such thing as a perfectly defensible property. But a lot of people are confused over the ideal that they can actually defend a home from the home. There is no such thing, okay? As a former military member, I can tell you that the worst place that you ever want to be if you want to defend yourself from me is inside of a house. Don't, because I know where you're at, and you don't know where I'm at, and you never will. So I can come at you from any direction, anytime, and you'll know nothing about it, but you're stuck inside. It could get ugly.
It's not just people who want to live off the grid who are being drawn to the American Redoubt. All around Coeur d'Alene, these huge housing developments are being built to cater to one of the fastest rising property markets in the US. But do the people moving here know of the area's dark history of white supremacy? Tony Stewart was here when Richard Butler set up the headquarters for his violently racist organisation, the Aryan Nations, in 1973.
So this is where the Aryan Nation property is?
This is the entrance to the former Aryan Nations